It's been a few years since I last looked at the first entry in the Phoenix Wright franchise. Now, look, I'm gonna come out clean and say that in that video I said I would cover the whole franchise at some point. And I still kind of hold myself to that statement, but I'm also willing to admit that'll take a lot longer than I anticipated. So, apologies to all three of you that care about that, but I promise that one day in the future I will go back to them. But more importantly, since then I have played a myriad of other games that have piqued my interest and have basically been told to me by many other people just how good they were. Those games have been such classics as the first entry in the Nonary game series, which I already did a video on, the first two Danganronpa series, with the third actively being ignored by me, basically out of spite at this point, and a few other visual novels and VN type games out there, especially shoutouts to Utawari Rumano. I'm on the second game now, it's fantastic, I love it. However, there has been one specific title that has not only been recommended to me constantly, but has also been on my radar for like the last, I don't know, 6 years or so, and that game is Ghost Trick. Now, Ghost Trick is one of those games that everyone will tell you is one of the best gaming experiences you'll ever have, and for years I would always say, okay, after this game that I'm playing right now, I'm gonna hop on Ghost Trick next. And for years, I just never did. And I don't know why. With everything I love about the Phoenix Wright franchise and all the good things I liked about the other games that I mentioned, Ghost Trick seems like such an easy sell to me, but for one reason or another, I never got around to it. But then a certain Nintendo Direct came out in early February, and well, I'm down, I love Tron, so dating?
Who's there?
Yeah, now I kind of have no excuse, do I? Ghost Trick was about to be available on every major platform for not only a decent price, but with enhanced visuals, remixed audio tracks, and a plethora of other features, and it's coming out in the summer of my Lord and Savior 2023. The stars could not have been more perfectly aligned. And aligned they were, as I finally decided to sit down and play through the game that everybody and their goddamn mothers was asking me to play. Like, it's been so long now and I'm finally doing it. To be honest, I'm kind of excited for this one. I'm a huge fan of the Phoenix Wright series, and my love for visual novels and visual novel type games have just been overgrowing, so I think it's finally about time I actually did sit down and play through Ghost Trick. It's been on that list for a while. I know almost nothing about this game outside of the tutorial section and maybe the first case or so, or like that's it, that's all I got on this one. I finally downloaded on my Nintendo Switch and I'm ready to get my gears going and finally play this cult classic that everyone says is one of the best games ever made, apparently. I can't wait to finally deep dive into this and find out why everyone loves this game. And just a side note, hey Styles, if you're watching, this one is for you. It's been a long time coming, but hey, I finally got around to it, so let's see what the big hubbub is all about. So, going into this game, I didn't really know much about what the creation was like or who was at the helm of producing this product. The only thing I knew about it was that it was published by Capcom, and that if you were a Phoenix Wright fan, you'd probably enjoy the game. What I didn't know was that the reason behind all that was that the very same creator of that series was the one who also made Ghost Trick. Shu Takumi was the head of this project in basically almost all the important sections of the game development, and honestly, in hindsight, yeah, that kind of makes a lot of sense. into the presentation side of things a little bit later, but even its story starts to beat the same drum here and there as the Phoenix Wright series. But luckily, Ghost Trick's unique style of storytelling completely separates it from his other work, which you honestly love to see. So anyway, how does our journey begin? Well, I'll admit it starts in a way that most games don't usually start. It starts with you being dead. Yep, that's you. Right there. And I bet you're wondering how you got into the situation. Well, don't worry, because so is the main character himself. And the game starts red hot. Not only are you dead, but there is now a tragic scene that is about to take place. Another person is being held at gunpoint. It seems like the tale starts tragically, until that is, a voice reaches out to our protagonist, and the world changes in an instant. And before much can be discussed, you are now in charge of your own soul in a place called the Ghost World, or the Land of the Dead. In this world, we can use our soul to manipulate objects that surround us. This is what will be labeled as a ghost trick. Everything happens quickly and the girl's life is saved. Until it isn't. Though halted momentarily, the shooter still manages to hold her at gunpoint. However, this time he pulls the trigger. And the work that you just carried out is all for naught. As he also kicks down your corpse and it lands onto a sofa below, it seems like this is truly where the story ends. That is until a ray of light shines in with a bit of a friendly banter. His voice shares the one that was helping you out before at the start. And while our protagonist laments that the girl still ended up dead, he corrects him with a simple "for now," as we are introduced to our second most important game mechanic, the ability to travel back in time 4 minutes before the passing of a person who has recently been deceased. Another one of the so-called ghost tricks that we have. And this is where our story and our game truly starts to kick off. To skip through what is essentially the tutorial section of the opening act, we learn quite a few things about our person and who our main protagonist is. For one, I'll say it now so I could stop calling him by his title. We learn that our main protagonist is named Sissel. And luckily we do learn that little bit of info, because outside of that, Sissel can't remember a single thing after he died, which is explained that is a normal thing to happen to those who have recently, died. But what Sissel is also about to discover is that the girl we spent the last few minutes saving is the key to finding out the biggest mystery of the game, why Sissel was murdered. This acts as the overarching narrative while other mysteries and objectives take place throughout your journey. And much like the movie Training Day, everything that takes place within the narrative is all taking place in the span of a couple of hours in one single day, as Sissel has until the dawn of the next day to solve the mystery behind his death. And his only clue is the red-headed detective who we saved just a bit earlier, whose name we learn is Lynn, who is working a case of her own that is also crucial it be solved by the time the sun rises. And after an alliance is formed, the main story objective is laid out, and the game is free to tell us its story hour after hour until the clock strikes at the finale. And truth be told, I love these opening moments of the game. It doesn't dance around the bush the minute you start a new game, it doesn't take a while for things to jumpstart, it makes it clear what the situation is, and within an hour of the game story, you already have a clear goal and various areas visited, which slowly introduces you to the game's mechanics and certain things that you'll be on the lookout for in your future. I hate to compare this game to Phoenix Wright, but it's the same as the tutorial introduction cases you play in those series. Its job is to create an easy enough playing field to slowly teach you the mechanics and storytelling of the game, so that you'll be ready for the later half when things start to require a bit more thought process. Ghost Trick follows that exact same mentality. Oh, not to mention the humor and the writing of the different characters you're gonna meet throughout your journey. It's just incredible. A fan favorite of the series is the lovable dog Missile, and it's not hard to see why, outside of just being a good boy. The way they interact with Sissel is something that I think every dog owner can kind of appreciate, with their high energy and sense of protection and duty. Sissel even gets a great few moments as well. Being someone who lost all his memories, there are a lot of things he just straight up realizes he doesn't know. And a little bit of spoiler, for one of the later parts, but one of my favorite moments that happens a tad early a bit into the game, but again, spoiler warning, is that Sissel attempts to read some messages on a chalkboard in a prison cell to learn the prisoner's duty for the next day. But when he tries to read it, he realizes that he doesn't know how to read. It's something that he just can't remember how to do, which caught me way off guard when that thought popped up, because that's not something you typically think about, and I give the game massive credit for including such a small thing like that. It even harbors back to the intro when he tried to read a file on someone, but he said the message was written in a language that he didn't understand. It's not that he didn't understand the language, he just couldn't read. It makes the situation feel more believable, outside of the whole soul turning back time thing. It's only the start of the game, but I'm already in love with it this much. Hopefully it just gets better as I go. So as I mentioned before, my first time playing through this title was on the recently released HD port to all modern consoles. More specifically, I'm playing this on my Nintendo Switch, so visually, I gotta say that I love how this game looks. But first, I do want to go back and appreciate just how good the original game looks on the DS hardware. I love the pixelated 3D models taking me back to the days of looking at Final Fantasy VII for the first time. And the sprite work is also nothing to scoff at either. And the colors, oh my god, the way the game uses colors as well is it's incredible. The bright colors that the characters are draped in help identify them at a moment's glance, and are always bouncing off the many backgrounds that you'll explore throughout this entire adventure. And the HD version, in my opinion, just enhances everything that I love about the game. I'm a big fan of the smoother looking models, which helps give the animation a bit more oomph in their presentation, at least to me anyway. The character portraits as well are super clean now, and I love the different range of emotions that they have, especially in the HD version. Man, how could I forget? I love the character designs too. Every important cast member you meet along the way are outlandish and unique to their personalities, and that's how it should be. The moment I saw a dude with a sausage-looking nose, I knew I would love everything about this game. I especially love Sissel and Lynn's designs like the most. I gotta love how Sissel has that yellow blonde hair and that sleek red suit, which perfectly complements Lynn's bright red hair and yellow jacket. And it complements them as they go through the night solving a huge mystery laid out before us. And the dialogue is great too. I love that our main character is someone who is just as lost as us throughout the entire journey. Like every time we reach something new and one of the main cast goes, "Oh, of course, it's this thing," Sissel's reply is always, what is that thing? And it's a great way for the game to explain something that may seem obvious to most people playing the game, but give it reasoning behind Sissel's memory loss, which also helps hint at the player what might be useful in their scenario. And my god, the music in this game is just goddamn stellar. Now, I've known a few tracks from the game for a while now, whether it be from other YouTube reviewers' content or randomly appearing in a playlist of sorts. There were those moments when playing through the game where I would just go, "Oh yeah, okay, this one, yeah, I recognize this one," whenever a track would appear. Surprisingly, one of the final songs that you hear in the game was one that I recognized because Juzzcook had used it in his Mario World ROM hack Invictus. I remember hearing it in game and I was just like, wait, that song is from Ghost Trick? And I just couldn't stop laughing about it. The music is just perfect for the setting and the characters of the game. Love that the main cast all pretty much have their own main theme. Lynn especially is one that I continue to hum even when I'm writing the script. It's always a fun time hearing Kitagawa's work. And the arrangements for the HD version are simply fantastic. They keep the charm and the upbeat vibes of the original DS soundtrack, but give it a fresh new paint that I think it deserves. Okay, so gameplay is going to be a tricky subject for me to tackle, and not because I think it's bad, far from it. I think Ghost Trick's unique style of puzzle solving is something that only can be thought of in the DS era, and I'm happy to say that I think it translates well to modern consoles, even if controlling your ghost line can be a bit finicky at times, but I digress. The reason I say it's hard is just due to the fact that there's not a whole lot of gameplay mechanics in this game, but instead using these gameplay mechanics in a multitude of ways to help solve whatever puzzle you're in is the meat and potatoes of the game. And all the experience that encompasses that is all based on the user playing the game for themselves. So how does one play Ghost Trick? Well, it's simple. Sissel is a ghost. He comes with two unique powers. Those powers being able to turn back time 4 minutes before a person's death, which, you know, kicks off the whole puzzle solving aspect of the game, and the ability to move between objects and manipulate them. Pressing the L button during the trick phase will allow the player to enter ghost mode. From here, they'll be able to move to any nearby objects and use them to help solve whatever situation they're in. Now, not every object can be interacted with, and some objects can have multiple uses to them, but at its very core, this is all Ghost Trick is, but it's also where the game shines. Making the game so simple for you to pick up and play makes the puzzles seem a bit more approachable in my honest opinion. You don't have to spend your time going through walls of text or remembering minute details to figure out what the game wants you to solve. Instead, you just go from object to object to try to see what the item does to reach a conclusion. And considering that the retry system is infinite, you can mess up as many times as you want to, and the game won't punish you for it. Now, that isn't to say that some later chapters don't get a bit tricky, but they never go outright insane with the difficulty. Okay, actually, I did lie to you a little bit. There is another gameplay mechanic that you unlock about halfway to 3/4 through the game, and it's an ability to swap objects with similar shapes. Once again, this doesn't go too crazy, and if anything, it only gets utilized more near the end of the game, but it's still neat to see the game take this style that you've been growing accustomed accustomed to, and shift it on its head a little bit, but still keep the core concepts in mind. And there's a bunch of other stuff that you could do as well, like read what the characters are thinking, which can lead to a hint or what to do in a scenario, as well as seeing what the characters in the scene are saying, like their spoken dialogue. After that, there isn't too much to add. It's a simple game with a simple concept, but man, that's what makes it work so flawlessly. I'm honestly impressed with how much I loved playing this game. I think I'm starting to understand why this game is such a cult classic to many. So typically, this is the part of the video where I sit down and I go, look, spoiler warning for the end of the game because I'm gonna go into why I love it so much, but nah dudes and dudettes, not this time. Ghost Trick is not a game that I can simply sit down and go into vague details about the ending of the game and why it's so good, because this is a game that you at home have to go through yourself to reach that climactic finale. For a refresher, this game takes place in a single night, and seeing everything unfold and all the clues and pieces finally come into place is just, it's wonderful. I love this game's story and its ending because upon reflection, there's so much that makes sense when you actually start to think about it. There's so many moments where I just slapped my forehead and went, of course, during all the revelations. And thanks to its well-written and well-paced story, it makes those moments even more special. But at least now, at the very least, I can reach the end of this video and say, if you haven't played Ghost Trick or have thought about playing it, just do it. Don't be me and wait like 10 years to play it. Just do it. Listen to those friends who beg you to play it. Listen to the fan base who claims it's a masterpiece. Listen to the artist Cravat, who is, for like the entire 3 months that this game was coming out, filled my Twitter feed of just non-stop hollering to play Ghost Trick. Because they are all right. You need to play Ghost Trick without any question. Just trust me on this one. It's so damn good. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I beat it. It's genuinely that great. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think I need to go lay down. I need to sleep. I think I just need to play Ghost Trick again or something. I don't know. I'm gonna go pass out. I'll see you guys later.